Hey everyone! This is the YouTube version of the story, edited to follow YouTube's community guidelines. If you'd like to experience the full extended and uncensored version, be sure to check out my Patreon. I'll also be uploading the complete Season 2 on Patreon by tomorrow. Simply scan the QR code on your screen to visit my Patreon. Thank you so much for your support, and enjoy the story. Noah Carter was a 20-year-old beta, the youngest of 3 sons in the Carter family. His eldest brother was a beautiful, perfect Omega who was adored by their mother. Everything about him was celebrated, his grades, his appearance, even the way he smiled. Their mother often called him the family's greatest blessing. His middle brother was a gifted alpha, powerful and charismatic. Their parents, especially their mother, proudly believed he would one day bring honor and prestige to the Carter name. He was treated like the family's future, someone worthy of endless praise and investment. For the first 13 years of Noah's life, his parents believed he might also present as an alpha or omega. But after his secondary presentation examination, the results shattered every expectation. Beta. From that day forward, Noah stopped being their precious youngest son. He became the family's disappointment. To his mother, a beta had no value compared to an alpha or omega. She openly treated him as if he were an embarrassment she wished had never been born. The warmth she once showed him disappeared overnight, replaced with cold indifference and constant criticism. Her favoritism gave Noah's brothers permission to treat him however they pleased. The eldest Omega mocked him for being ordinary. The alpha bullied him simply because he could. Every insult, every slap, every bruise was ignored. Only Noah's father still loved him. He tried to comfort his youngest son whenever he could, quietly bandaging his wounds or sneaking him his favorite meals after another cruel day. But his father had little authority inside their home. Whenever he tried to defend Noah, his wife silenced him. Years of giving in to her demands had left him unable to stand against her. So he watched in heartbreaking silence as his youngest son suffered, carrying the guilt of a father who wanted to protect his child but never found the strength to do so. Everything changed when Noah turned 17. One afternoon, during yet another argument, both of his brothers cornered him near a steep rocky hillside. Laughing as if it were nothing more than a game, they shoved him with all their strength. Noah lost his footing. His body crashed violently against the jagged rocks before tumbling down the slope. Sharp stones tore into his skin, breaking bones and leaving deep gashes across his body. By the time he reached the bottom, he was barely conscious, covered in blood. His father rushed him to the hospital in absolute panic. When he learned what had happened, he exploded with anger unlike Noah had ever seen before, demanding to know how his own sons could commit such cruelty. His mother, however, simply crossed her arms. "They were only playing," she said dismissively. "Boys get rough sometimes." Even after seeing Noah lying in a hospital bed, covered in bandages and struggling to stay awake, she showed no concern. The doctors delivered devastating news. Noah had suffered severe trauma to his head and eyes. They explained that with immediate intensive treatment, multiple surgeries, and expensive medication, there was still hope to save his eyesight. Without it, he would slowly go blind. His father begged his wife to approve the treatment. She refused. "I'm not wasting that kind of money on a useless beta," she said coldly. "That money is better spent on our alpha and omega. They're an investment." "He isn't." Noah heard every word. Tears streamed down his face as he reached for his mother's hand. "Mom, please. I don't want to go blind. Please help me." She pulled her hand away without even looking at him. No matter how desperately he begged, she never changed her mind. Unable to afford the treatment alone, Noah's father could only watch helplessly as the opportunity slipped away. Over the next 6 months, Noah's vision grew weaker every day. Colors faded. Faces blurred. Light disappeared. Until one morning, there was nothing left but endless darkness. At only 17 years old, Noah Carter became completely blind. The blindness destroyed what little spirit remained inside him. He stopped talking. He stopped smiling. He locked himself inside his room for days at a time, believing his life had ended before it had truly begun. But instead of pity, his condition only made him an easier target. His mother called him a burden. His brothers found amusement in tormenting someone who could no longer defend himself. Almost every single day, Noah was left with a new injury, a split lip, bruised ribs, burns, cuts, or swollen bruises hidden beneath his clothes. His alpha brother especially enjoyed striking him from behind, laughing as Noah stumbled helplessly across the floor, unable to see where the next blow would come from. Noah never fought back. He couldn't. All he could do was curl into himself and silently endure the pain, wondering how the people who were supposed to love him had become the ones who hurt him the most. However, For 20-year-old Noah Carter, years of suffering came to an unexpected turning point on a freezing evening in January. The annual Winter Charity Gala was the most prestigious event in the country. Officially, it was held to raise money for children's hospitals and community welfare. In reality, everyone knew it was little more than an excuse for the nation's most influential families to display their wealth, status, and, most importantly, their alphas and omegas. This year, however, the gala carried a different level of excitement. For the first time in years, the elusive heir of the Ashford family would be attending. The Ashfords were not simply the richest family in the country. They were the richest and most powerful family in the world. Their influence stretched across governments, multinational corporations, finance, technology, and medicine. A single decision from the Ashford family could change entire industries overnight. And at the center of that empire stood one man: Adrian Ashford. Unlike ordinary alphas, Adrian was considered an anomaly. An enigma. A man people spoke about more than they actually knew. Some whispered he possessed a dominance so overwhelming that even powerful alphas instinctively lowered their heads in his presence. Others claimed his intelligence and ruthlessness were the true reasons the Ashford empire continued to grow at an impossible rate. Whatever the truth was, everyone agreed on one thing. There had never been another alpha like Adrian Ashford. Months earlier, the Ashford family had officially announced that their heir had finally decided to search for a life partner. The announcement sent the entire country into chaos. Every influential family immediately began preparing their children. Many believed Adrian would choose a powerful alpha whose bloodline could produce an even stronger heir and further strengthen the Ashford legacy. Others insisted he would prefer a graceful, beautiful Omega capable of giving birth to exceptional children while standing elegantly beside the future head of the world's greatest empire. No one, not a single person, even considered a beta. To society, betas simply didn't belong in a conversation that involved Adrian Ashford. The moment Mrs. Carter heard Adrian would be attending the gala, she threw herself into preparations. Her beloved Omega son was fitted in a custom-tailored ivory suit, decorated with expensive jewelry that sparkled beneath the lights. His hair was carefully styled, and every detail of his appearance was perfected until he looked like a prince. Her alpha son received the same treatment. A luxurious black suit, a handcrafted watch worth more than most families earned in years, polished shoes, and an aura of confidence carefully encouraged by their mother's endless praise. She admired them with shining eyes. "My perfect sons," she whispered proudly. "One of you will surely catch Adrian Ashford's attention." As for Noah, she never once mentioned his name. In fact, she had no intention of bringing him at all. "We'll be gone for 2 days," she said dismissively. "Leave him at home. He'll survive." "No." Her husband's voice was unusually firm. "We are not leaving our blind son alone in an empty house for 2 days. He'll only embarrass us. He's still our child." For several minutes, they argued. His father refused to give in. Eventually, Mrs. Carter sighed in irritation. "Fine," she snapped. "Bring him if you want. Just make sure he stays out of everyone's sight." Those words were enough for Noah's father. The night before the gala, he quietly handed Noah a carefully wrapped box. Inside was a navy blue suit. It wasn't made by famous designers. It carried no luxury brand. But it was the most expensive thing Noah's father had ever bought for him. "I've been saving for months," his father said softly with a gentle smile. "I wanted you to have something nice." Noah's trembling fingers brushed over the fabric. It was beautiful. For the first time in years, someone had bought him something simply because they wanted him to smile. On the evening of the gala, his father patiently helped him get dressed. He carefully buttoned Noah's shirt, adjusted his tie, smoothed the wrinkles from his jacket, and gently combed his dark hair into place. "You look very handsome," his father said, his voice thick with emotion. Noah smiled faintly. "Thank you, Dad." It was one of the few genuine smiles he had worn in years. When they finally arrived at the Grand Hotel hosting the gala, Noah carefully held onto his father's arm while his father slowly guided him through the magnificent entrance. Every step was taken with trust. Every obstacle was quietly warned about before Noah reached it. A few meters ahead walked Mrs. Carter with her cherished Alpha and Omega sons. She never looked back. Never once checked whether Noah was keeping up. To everyone watching, it looked as though the Carter family consisted of only 3 people. The youngest son simply followed behind. Invisible. Unwanted. Completely unaware that before the night ended, his fate would collide with the most powerful man in the world. The grand ballroom glittered beneath magnificent crystal chandeliers, alive with music, laughter, and the clinking of champagne glasses. Noah could hear it all. The elegant melodies drifting from the orchestra above. The soft laughter of noble Omegas. The confident voices of alphas introducing themselves to influential families. And beneath those polished conversations, he could hear the nervous anticipation. Everyone was waiting for one man. Adrian Ashford. Noah had no interest in any of it. His father gently led him away from the crowded ballroom and toward a quiet seating area tucked into a secluded corner, far from the center of the celebration. There are fewer people here, his father said softly. You'll be more comfortable. Noah nodded with a small smile before taking a seat. His father remained beside him, describing little pieces of the ballroom whenever Noah asked. For a brief moment, it almost felt peaceful. Then a familiar voice shattered it. Honey. Mrs. Carter called from across the ballroom. We need you over here. His father hesitated, glancing between his wife and Noah. I'll only be a few minutes, he promised, gently squeezing Noah's shoulder. Stay here. I'll come back soon. It's okay, Dad. Noah listened as his father's footsteps disappeared into the crowd. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 15. His father never returned. Noah simply lowered his head, quietly waiting. That was when something unfamiliar drifted through the cold winter air. A scent. Rich. Warm. Unlike anything Noah had ever experienced. As a beta, scents had never affected him the way they did alphas and omegas. Most pheromones were little more than faint fragrances he could barely notice. But this was different. It carried the crisp freshness of winter cedar wrapped in expensive amber, touched by the comforting warmth of burning sandalwood. Powerful, yet strangely gentle. For reasons Noah couldn't explain, the scent settled around him like a warm blanket, easing the loneliness that had clung to him for years. A moment later, he felt someone sit down beside him. Dad, are you back? Noah asked quietly. A deep voice answered. No. A brief chuckle followed. I'm afraid I'm not your father. Realizing his mistake, Noah lowered his head. I'm sorry. It's all right. Silence settled between them. Yet Noah couldn't stop noticing that comforting scent surrounding the stranger. It felt safe. The man finally spoke. Why are you sitting all alone? Noah shrugged. I hear Adrian Ashford is supposed to arrive tonight, the stranger continued casually. Don't you want to be inside when everyone greets him? For the first time, irritation crossed Noah's face. Can't you see I'm blind? His voice carried years of buried frustration. And even if I wasn't, why would I be there? He laughed bitterly. I'm just a useless beta. The stranger didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked another question. Then why did you come? Noah sighed. You ask a lot of questions. Still, there was something strangely comforting about talking to someone who didn't immediately pity him. My brothers are inside. They're hoping Adrian Ashford notices them. My parents are with all the important guests. I'm only here because my father refused to leave me home alone. The stranger simply listened. No judgment. No interruption. Only quiet patience. A sudden breeze swept across the balcony. Noah shivered. Without warning, something warm settled gently over his shoulders. A jacket. Noah froze. His entire body instinctively recoiled. He flinched violently, raising his arms to shield himself as though expecting the familiar sting of another blow. And no. I'm sorry. I'll move. The stranger immediately reached out, not forcefully, but carefully. It's all right. His large hand gently enclosed Noah's trembling fingers. I'm not going to hurt you. His voice was calm, steady, patient. Noah slowly realized. The stranger had only been trying to keep him warm. Heat rushed to his face. I'm sorry. The man merely smiled. You don't have to apologize. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Noah quietly asked. Why are you sitting here with a blind beta when Adrian Ashford is inside? A faint smile touched his lips. You smell like a powerful alpha. You shouldn't waste your evening talking to someone like me. The stranger remained silent for several seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than before. Why do you think so little of yourself? Noah blinked. You're still a person. You laugh. You cry. You feel pain. You have dreams. His grip around Noah's hand remained reassuringly gentle. That's what gives someone value. Not the label the world forced onto them when they were still a child. Noah's throat tightened. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. For the first time in years, the weight crushing his heart felt just a little lighter. Their conversation flowed naturally after that. They spoke about simple things, the winter weather, books Noah's father used to read to him, music, and the stars Noah could no longer see but still loved imagining. It felt normal. As though they had known each other far longer than a few minutes. Eventually, the stranger asked, What's your name? Noah. Noah Carter. A gentle smile spread across Noah's face. And yours? The man beside him laughed quietly. My full name is rather long. He paused before answering. But, you can call me Ron. Their conversation flowed as though they had known each other for years instead of mere minutes. For the first time in a long while, Noah wasn't speaking out of obligation or fear. He spoke because someone was genuinely listening. The stranger never interrupted him, never pitted him, and never treated him as though his blindness defined who he was. For Noah, it was an unfamiliar kind of comfort. Then, a sudden, deafening screech burst from the speakers as the microphone came to life. The sharp sound cut through the ballroom, making Noah flinch violently. His breathing hitched, and he instinctively recoiled, raising his arms in front of his face as though expecting another blow. The stranger reacted almost instantly. It's all right. His voice remained low and soothing as he gently rested a hand over Noah's clenched fists. No one's going to hurt you. Only after feeling that reassuring touch did Noah slowly relax. Sorry, he whispered. You never have to apologize for being startled. The stranger's words were so natural that Noah simply nodded. Across the ballroom, the orchestra fell silent. Every conversation ceased. Ladies and gentlemen. The host's voice echoed through the magnificent hall. It is my greatest honor to invite the man whose generosity and unwavering support have made tonight's charity gala possible. Please welcome, Mr. Robert Ashford. Thunderous applause erupted. Even Noah, who had never met the legendary patriarch, could hear the immense respect hidden within every clap. Robert Ashford ascended the stage with effortless elegance. He smiled warmly before addressing the audience. Thank you for honoring us with your presence this evening. True wealth has never been measured by the fortune we possess, but by the lives we are able to change. The Ashford family has been blessed with more than we could ever ask for. It is only right that we return a portion of those blessings to the people who need them most. His speech was neither boastful nor rehearsed. Instead, it carried the quiet confidence of a man who no longer needed to prove his power. When he finished speaking about the foundation's charitable work, a member of the organizing committee approached the stage with a grin. Chairman Ashford, I think everyone here has been patient enough. Laughter echoed through the ballroom. The organizer continued with a teasing smile. Tonight isn't only about charity. I believe every Alpha and Omega in this room is eagerly waiting to meet the future head of the Ashford family. Several guests laughed in agreement. So, where is young Master Adrian? Robert Ashford couldn't help but chuckle. My son has always preferred arriving on his own terms. His eyes casually swept across the ballroom. I'm afraid you'll all have to wait just a little longer. I assure you, he is already here. Excited murmurs instantly spread throughout the hall. Everyone began glancing around, hoping to discover Adrian Ashford before anyone else. No one looked toward the quiet corner hidden behind the grand staircase. No one noticed the simply dressed man seated beside a blind beta. The man smiled faintly. Because Robert Ashford had spoken the truth. Adrian Ashford was already in the ballroom. According to his father's wishes, Adrian had until the end of the gala to choose the person who would stand beside him for the rest of his life. He could have entered through the front doors in the Ashford family's unmistakable procession. The moment he did, every Alpha and Omega would have competed desperately for his attention. Adrian had no interest in any of that. So he came disguised as an ordinary guest. Without the Ashford name attached to him. People revealed who they truly were. For nearly an hour, Adrian had wandered through the ballroom. He watched powerful alphas boast about their achievements. Elegant omegas smiled with flawless manners taught since childhood. Every introduction felt carefully rehearsed. Every laugh carried hidden ambition. Every conversation seemed to revolve around one goal: becoming Mrs. or Mr. Ashford. None of it interested him. Then, from across the ballroom, he caught the faintest scent. It was impossible. Betas rarely produced scents strong enough for an alpha to notice. Yet this one reached him with startling clarity. Soft. Comforting. Like rain falling upon an ancient forest after a long winter. Before Adrian realized what he was doing, his feet were already carrying him toward its source. There, sitting quietly in the corner with his father, was Noah Carter. A blind beta wearing nothing more than a modest navy blue suit. While the entire ballroom struggled to be seen, Noah seemed to wish only to disappear. Curiosity became conversation. Conversation became understanding. And understanding became certainty. Every answer Noah gave was honest. Every smile carried sadness rather than pretense. Even after everything life had stolen from him, his heart remained astonishingly gentle. No bitterness. No greed. No desire for power. Only quiet kindness. Adrian found himself admiring the man sitting beside him more with every passing minute. The labels society worshipped suddenly felt meaningless. Alpha, Omega, Beta. None of them mattered. Not when compared to the strength hidden inside Noah Carter. To the rest of the ballroom, Noah was invisible. A blind beta. A disappointment. Someone who could never stand beside the future head of the Ashford family. But Adrian had never cared about society's expectations. Long before anyone else realized it. Long before Noah even learned the stranger's true identity. Adrian Ashford had already made his choice. He hadn't found the strongest alpha. Nor the most beautiful omega. He had found the one person whose heart made the entire ballroom seem empty by comparison. And for Adrian, that was all he had ever needed. The moment Robert Ashford announced that Adrian was already somewhere inside the ballroom, the atmosphere shifted completely. Conversations erupted. Every alpha straightened their posture. Every omega discreetly checked their appearance. Guests scanned every corner of the ballroom, wondering if the legendary heir was standing beside them without anyone realizing it. Noah smiled faintly. "I think you should go." The stranger glanced at him. "Why? If young Master Ashford is already here, then everyone will be looking for him." Noah adjusted his grip on his cane. "Someone like you shouldn't waste your evening sitting beside a blind beta." A smile played on the stranger's lips. Instead of leaving, he asked quietly, "What do you think of Adrian Ashford?" Noah shrugged. "I don't know him. I only know what everyone else says. He's powerful. The richest man in the country. Maybe even the world." He gave a helpless laugh. "That's enough to make everyone want to marry him." The stranger nodded. "I suppose that's true." After a brief silence, he asked another question. "And if Adrian Ashford asked you to marry him? Would you accept?" The smile vanished from Noah's face. His brows knitted together and hurt. For a few seconds, he simply sat there in silence. Then he slowly withdrew his hands. Was this all a joke? The stranger frowned. "Noah, I trusted you." Noah's voice was barely above a whisper. "I thought you were talking to me because you wanted to. But you're no different." His breathing grew uneven. "You know I'm blind. You know I'm a beta. And yet you're asking if Adrian Ashford would ever marry someone like me?" A bitter smile appeared on his lips. "Please, leave. I don't want to be laughed at anymore." The disappointment in Noah's voice struck Adrian far harder than anger ever could. He moved a little closer. "I'm not laughing at you." Noah remained silent. "I'm serious." Still no response. Adrian gently reached for Noah's cold hands, enclosing them between his own. "Trust me." Just those two words. Nothing more. For reasons Noah couldn't explain, the panic inside him slowly settled. Adrian carefully helped him to his feet. His fingers gently brushed through Noah's slightly windswept hair before straightening the collar of his suit. When he was finished, Adrian looked at him with quiet admiration. "There. You look perfect." Noah's cheeks warmed. What are you doing?" Adrian smiled. "Giving you what you deserve." Before Noah could ask what he meant, Adrian took his hand. "Come with me." "Where?" "You'll know in a moment." Adrian began guiding him through the ballroom. Each step only deepened Noah's confusion. People around them suddenly grew quiet. He could feel dozens. No. Hundreds of eyes turning toward them. His heartbeat quickened. "Ron. What's happening?" Adrian only tightened his grip reassuringly. "We're almost there." Then, "Noah." Mrs. Carter's furious voice echoed across the ballroom. She had finally spotted her blind son walking toward the stage beside an unfamiliar masked alpha. Her face instantly lost all color. "What are you doing? Get back here." She hurried forward, panic replacing her anger. The Ashford family was only a few meters away. If Noah embarrassed them now, her carefully crafted plans for her alpha and omega sons would collapse before her eyes. Even Noah's father froze in shock. He had no idea who the masked man was, but watching him lead Noah toward the stage filled him with equal parts fear and confusion. He instinctively stepped forward. "Noah." Before either parent could reach them, a line of Ashford security quietly moved into place. No threats. No raised voices. Just an unmistakable barrier. "I'm sorry," one guard said respectfully. "No one may proceed." Mrs. Carter's expression twisted with disbelief. "Move. That's my son." The guards didn't move. They simply stood aside for the masked alpha and the blind beta. Hand in hand, they walked onto the stage together. The entire ballroom watched in stunned silence, unaware that the greatest surprise of the evening was only seconds away. The moment Adrian and Noah stepped onto the stage, the restless murmurs echoing through the ballroom slowly died away. Hundreds of curious eyes followed the masked alpha standing beside the blind beta. Noah's fingers tightened around Adrian's hand. "Ron?" His voice was barely audible. What are we doing here? Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he slowly reached up and untied the black mask hiding his face. The mask slipped from his fingers. For one endless second, the entire ballroom stood frozen. Then chaos erupted. Young Master Ashford. That's Adrian Ashford. Oh my God. So he was here all along? Every guest stared at the stage in complete disbelief. Mrs. Carter felt the blood drain from her face. Her eyes locked onto the man standing beside Noah. Adrian Ashford. Then her gaze shifted to her blind youngest son. Her mind refused to understand what she was seeing. Why Noah? Why was Adrian standing beside Noah? Why wasn't he beside her perfect Alpha, or her perfect Omega? Even Noah's brothers stood rooted to the spot, unable to utter a single word. Adrian calmly stepped before the microphone. He rested one reassuring hand against Noah's shoulder before speaking. I appreciate every family who accepted our invitation tonight. His deep voice carried effortlessly through the silent ballroom. I know many of you came here believing this evening would end with the announcement of my future partner. A faint smile appeared on his lips. I'm sorry to disappoint those still hoping. I've already found the person I've been searching for. The room held its breath. Adrian turned toward the trembling man standing beside him. There is no one more suitable to stand beside me. Then Noah Carter. The words struck Noah like lightning. His heartbeat stopped. Noah Carter. That was his name. His breathing became shallow. His mind screamed that he had misunderstood. But then Adrian spoke again. I hereby introduce my future husband, Noah Carter. A collective gasp echoed through the ballroom. Some guests stared in disbelief. Others immediately began whispering. A blind beta? Is this some kind of joke? The Ashford heir chose a beta? Mrs. Carter nearly collapsed. Everything she had dreamed of, everything she had planned, shattered in a matter of seconds. Noah couldn't hear anything clearly anymore. The whispers blended into meaningless noise. His chest tightened. His heartbeat pounded painfully against his ribs. Ron. No. Adrian Ashford. His entire body trembled. He wanted to disappear. He wanted someone to wake him from this impossible dream. Adrian immediately felt Noah swaying beside him. Without drawing attention to it, he quietly slipped an arm around Noah's waist to steady him. It's all right, he whispered so only Noah could hear. I'm here. After offering the guests one final nod, Adrian stepped away from the microphone. The evening is over. Thank you all for coming. Ignoring the endless questions thrown toward him, Adrian gently guided Noah off the stage. As they reached the stairs, he turned to his head of security. Escort the Carter family to the Ashford Hotel. No delays. Yes, young master. Outside the venue, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom waited beneath the glowing entrance. Adrian opened the rear door himself before helping Noah inside. The moment the door closed, the silence inside became unbearable. Noah finally broke. No. His voice cracked. This can't be happening. He pulled at his own hair, desperately trying to steady his breathing. I don't understand. Why me? I want my dad. His voice dissolved into desperate sobs. I want my dad. Please. I want my dad. His breathing became erratic. His entire body shook uncontrollably. He could no longer tell where reality ended and fear began. Everything had happened too quickly. Too suddenly. Adrian carefully moved closer. Noah. His voice remained calm. Listen to me. You're safe. Noah immediately flinched away. No. Don't touch me. His panic wasn't directed at Adrian. It was directed at the world that had suddenly turned upside down. Adrian understood. Instead of forcing another touch, he simply stayed beside him. Close enough that Noah wouldn't feel alone. Far enough that Noah wouldn't feel trapped. He waited. Patiently. Meanwhile, inside the Ashford Hotel, Robert Ashford and Lily Ashford welcomed the Carter family into a private sitting room. Robert spoke first. My son has made his decision. There will be no discussion regarding that. Mrs. Carter forced an uneasy smile. Chairman Ashford. I believe Adrian has made a mistake. She gestured toward her other children. My eldest is a graceful Omega. My second son is a remarkable Alpha. They are both far more suitable than Noah. Robert's expression instantly cooled. My son doesn't need society to define perfection for him. If Adrian chose Noah, then Noah is exactly who he wanted. The matter ends there. Mrs. Carter immediately fell silent. Noah's father slowly stepped forward instead. His eyes were already red. I only wish to see my son. Robert nodded gently. A few minutes later, Adrian quietly opened the bedroom door. Noah sat curled against the corner of the sofa, wrapped in a blanket, his eyes swollen from crying. The moment he heard footsteps. "Dad?" His voice trembled. The instant his father answered, Noah rushed toward him without thinking. He forgot he couldn't see. His foot caught the edge of the carpet. He stumbled forward and crashed painfully onto the floor. The sound made both Adrian and Noah's father instinctively move. "Noah!" His father dropped to his knees beside him. The sight before him shattered what remained of his composure. Noah clung desperately to his father's clothes. "Dad! Please! Take me home. I don't want to stay here." His father buried a shaking hand in Noah's hair. Every instinct screamed at him to carry his son away. But he couldn't. With tears streaming down his face, he slowly looked toward Adrian. "My son has never needed wealth or power. He only needs someone who will love him. He breaks so easily. So, I'm begging you, please protect him." Adrian stepped forward without hesitation. He gently took the older man's hands between his own. His voice carried absolute certainty. "I swear on the Ashford name. I will protect Noah. I will treasure him. I will never allow anyone to hurt him again. I cannot erase his past. But I promise you, I will give him a future where he never has to fear another tomorrow." The older man's tears finally fell. After a long silence, he nodded. As he turned toward the door, Noah sensed the movement. "Dad?" No answer. Panic immediately returned. "Dad! Please don't leave." He stumbled after the retreating footsteps, reaching desperately through empty air. Instead, his trembling hands found Adrian. Without realizing who he was holding onto, Noah buried his face against Adrian's chest and sobbed uncontrollably. Adrian wrapped both arms around him, holding him as gently as though Noah were made of glass. His eyes followed Noah's father until the bedroom door quietly closed. Only then did Adrian lower his head and whisper a promise meant for them both. "I'll bring his smile back. No matter how long it takes." The night Noah's father walked out of the room, taking one last look at his youngest son before the door quietly closed behind him, Noah completely broke down. He clung desperately to Adrian's shirt, sobbing so hard that he could barely breathe. "I want my dad. Please. I want my dad." Adrian didn't try to stop his tears. He simply held Noah close, allowing him to cry for as long as he needed. Hours passed. The room grew quiet, yet Noah remained in Adrian's arms, exhausted from crying but too frightened to let go. That night, Noah barely slept. Whenever exhaustion finally pulled him into unconsciousness, another nightmare dragged him back. Sometimes he woke whispering apologies. Sometimes he called desperately for his father. Other times, he woke shaking so violently that he couldn't catch his breath. Every time, Adrian was already there. "It's only a dream." His voice remained calm in the darkness. "You're safe. I'm right here." The words never changed. Neither did Adrian's patience. By dawn, neither of them had slept for more than a few scattered minutes. The following morning, Adrian brought Noah to the Ashford estate. The ancestral mansion stood proudly among acres of ancient gardens, reflecting centuries of Ashford history and prestige. News of the engagement had already spread throughout the household. Wedding planners hurried through the corridors carrying schedules and sketches. Designers arrived with fabrics gathered from the finest ateliers across Europe. The estate buzzed with quiet excitement. Yet Noah seemed untouched by it all. Throughout the private flight, he never once started a conversation. Adrian asked if he was comfortable. Noah gave a small nod. He asked whether Noah was hungry. Another nod. Sometimes Noah quietly wiped away tears, believing no one noticed. Adrian noticed every single one. He simply chose not to force words from someone whose heart was still breaking. When they arrived, the household welcomed Noah with remarkable gentleness. The staff introduced themselves one by one. They described every room before guiding him inside. Meals were prepared according to the doctor's recommendations. Someone always remained nearby in case Noah became disoriented. Not because he was helpless, but because everyone wanted him to feel secure. For perhaps the first time in his life, kindness surrounded him without asking for anything in return. That evening, Adrian quietly knocked before entering Noah's room. The curtains had been left slightly open. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Noah sat listening to it in silence. "May I come in?" A faint nod answered him. Adrian pulled a chair closer. "How are you feeling?" "I'm fine." The answer came almost automatically. Adrian studied him for a moment. "Noah, I'd like an honest answer." His tone became firmer than before. The change made Noah instinctively shrink into himself. "Why yes, Mr. Ashford." Adrian sighed almost immediately. His expression softened. He gently took Noah's cold hands between his own. "You don't have to call me that. My family has called me Ron since I was a little boy. I'd like you to keep calling me Ron too." Noah's lips trembled. Fresh tears slipped down his cheeks. No, he whispered. Ron disappeared that night. You were Adrian Ashford all along. I trusted Ron. But Adrian was the one who took my father away. The quiet confession lingered painfully between them. Adrian lowered his head. I'm sorry. I know it feels that way. But I never wanted to take anyone from you. I only wanted to protect you. Noah slowly shook his head. I'm scared. I don't know where I belong anymore. Adrian listened without interrupting. When Noah finally fell silent, he spoke just as quietly. I can't erase everything you've been through. And I won't ask you to trust me overnight. Trust isn't something I deserve simply because I ask for it. I'll earn it. One day at a time. He paused before adding. And your father? I've already arranged for him to visit. Noah immediately lifted his head. You have? Adrian smiled. I gave you my word. I don't intend to break it. For the first time since arriving at the estate, some of the fear in Noah's expression eased. The following morning, stylists arrived to begin preparing clothing for the upcoming ceremony. Instead of making decisions without Noah, they described every fabric, every texture, and every design, allowing him to choose what felt right. That afternoon, Adrian accompanied Noah to the Ashford Medical Institute. Waiting there was one of the world's leading ophthalmology teams. The moment several doctors approached, Noah instinctively stepped backward. No. His breathing became uneven. Please. I don't want anyone touching me. The specialists immediately stopped. No one moved another step. Adrian quietly walked beside him. You don't have to rush. We'll only continue when you're ready. It took nearly 20 minutes before Noah finally nodded. Throughout every examination, Adrian remained beside him, explaining each instrument before it was used and reminding him exactly what was happening. By the end of the consultation, the lead surgeon smiled. There is significant damage. But there is also hope. We believe Noah has an excellent chance of recovering much of his vision. It will require several operations, careful rehabilitation, and patience. Adrian answered without hesitation. Begin immediately. Use every resource you need. Just promise me one thing. The surgeon nodded. What is it? Protect him. The doctor smiled warmly. That was already our intention. 2 days later, Noah slowly regained consciousness after the first procedure. His eyes remained carefully bandaged. He stirred uneasily until he felt a familiar hand gently stroking his hair. Dad? I'm here, son. His father's voice cracked with emotion. Relief flooded Noah's face. He reached out immediately, embracing his father with both arms. I thought I wouldn't meet you again. You never have to carry that fear, his father whispered. Standing quietly near the window, Adrian watched the reunion without interrupting. When Noah eventually realized Adrian had quietly fulfilled his promise, he turned toward the sound of his footsteps. Thank you. It was only 2 words. But to Adrian, they meant more than any grand declaration ever could. Noah's father remained at the Ashford estate for 3 more days. Those 3 days became Noah's greatest source of comfort. Every morning, they shared breakfast together. His father patiently walked with him through the gardens, describing the blooming flowers, the sound of the fountains, and the warmth of the afternoon sun. In the evenings, he sat beside Noah until he drifted to sleep, gently stroking his hair just as he had done since Noah was a little boy. For the first time since the charity gala, Noah managed to smile. It was small. Fragile. But it was there. On the morning he was due to return home, Noah clung tightly to his father. I don't want you to go, he whispered. His father hugged him tightly. I know, son. I don't want to leave either. He gently cupped Noah's face. But I can't stay forever. You have to be brave. He glanced toward Adrian, who quietly waited a respectful distance away. I've known the Ashford family for years. They're respected not only because of their power, but because of the way they treat the people they love. His eyes softened. Young Master Adrian may seem cold to everyone else, but I can see the way he looks after you. I believe he'll protect you. And one day, I think you'll understand that too. Noah lowered his head. He didn't answer. Not because he disagreed, but because fear was louder than hope. No matter how hard he tried, the memories refused to let him believe. After his father left the estate, the silence returned. This time, it felt even heavier. 2 days later, Noah had another appointment with the ophthalmology team. Before leaving for an important meeting, Adrian instructed the house staff, help Noah get dressed. And make sure he eats before we leave. The head housekeeper smiled. Don't worry, young master. We'll take good care of him. Inside the bedroom, Noah sat quietly on the edge of the bed. A tray of warm soup had been prepared especially for him. "You haven't eaten since last night," the elderly housekeeper said kindly. "You need your strength." She carefully lifted a spoon toward him. Noah immediately shook his head. "No. Just a few bites. I'm not hungry, young Master Noah." I said no. His breathing began to quicken. The housekeeper hesitated. She had only wanted to help. As she reached forward once more, Noah instinctively tried to push the spoon away. His hand struck the bowl instead. Everything happened within seconds. The bowl slipped from the tray. It crashed onto the floor. Scalding soup splashed across Noah's chest, neck, and hands. A sharp cry escaped his lips. "Ah!" The burning pain made him stumble backward. His breathing became frantic. His hands flew up to shield his head. "No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please don't hit me." His voice echoed through the hallway. He scrambled blindly across the bed, curling into the corner, desperately trying to hide himself beneath the pillows. His entire body shook uncontrollably. Outside the room, Adrian froze. The terrified scream sent a chill through his entire body. He dropped the file in his hands and ran. "Noah!" The bedroom door burst open. The sight before him made his heart stop. Broken porcelain covered the floor. Steam still rose from the spilled soup. The housekeepers stood frozen in horror. And Noah? Noah was trembling violently in the corner of the bed, sobbing as though he believed the world was about to end. Adrian immediately understood. This wasn't simply an accident. This was trauma. Everyone. His normally calm voice carried unmistakable authority. "Step away." The staff obeyed immediately. Adrian slowly approached the bed. "Noah. It's me." Noah only cried harder. "No. No." He kept pushing himself backward until he struck the headboard. Unable to see where he was moving, he slipped, hitting his shoulder painfully against the wooden frame. The impact only frightened him more. He covered his head with both arms. "Please. I'll be good. Please don't." Those words shattered something inside Adrian. He knelt several feet away instead of reaching for him. "Noah. No one is angry. You haven't done anything wrong. You spilled some soup. That's all." His voice remained calm, steady, patient. Minute after minute passed. Eventually, Noah's desperate sobs began to weaken. Only then did Adrian move closer. Very slowly. Giving Noah every opportunity to pull away if he wished. When Noah no longer retreated, Adrian carefully supported him before wrapping a soft blanket around his shoulders to protect the burned skin. The estate physician arrived moments later. The burns were examined immediately. "They're superficial," the doctor reported after applying cooling treatment. "They'll heal." Adrian released a quiet breath. The burns would heal. But Noah wouldn't. Not so easily. Once the treatment was finished, Adrian looked around the room. Everyone may leave. The staff quietly disappeared, guilt written across every face. Silence settled over the bedroom once again. As Adrian carefully helped Noah change into fresh clothes, his hands suddenly stopped. Across Noah's shoulders, thin white scars crossed his skin. Some were years old. Others looked much newer. There were bruises that had only recently faded. Marks along his ribs. A long scar stretching across his back. None of them belonged on a 20-year-old. For several long seconds, Adrian couldn't move. His chest tightened painfully. He finally understood why Noah flinched whenever someone raised a hand too quickly. Why loud voices made him panic. Why a simple accident had convinced him he was about to be beaten. This wasn't fear born from imagination. It had been taught to him. Repeatedly. Over many years. Adrian gently pulled Noah's shirt back into place before covering him with a blanket. His voice was barely above a whisper. "They hurt you for so long." Noah lowered his head. "I always tried to be good." The heartbreaking confession left Adrian speechless. He carefully sat beside Noah and remained there in silence. Not because he had no words, but because he knew that, sometimes, the greatest comfort wasn't found in promises. It was found in refusing to leave. Adrian remained beside Noah for the rest of the morning. Neither of them spoke. The silence between them no longer felt empty, it felt necessary. Noah sat quietly, wrapped in a blanket, his hands still trembling from time to time. Whenever another wave of fear washed over him, Adrian simply stayed where he was, reminding Noah through his presence that he wasn't alone. As Adrian replayed everything that had happened, one thought became painfully clear. The burns would heal within days. The scars hidden inside Noah's heart would not. Those wounds had been growing for years. And no amount of wealth or power could erase them overnight. That afternoon, Adrian contacted one of the country's most respected trauma therapists. More than anything else, Noah needed someone who could help him heal. That evening, Adrian returned to Noah's room. Noah was sitting quietly by the window, listening to the soft rain outside. Adrian pulled a chair beside him. "There is something I'd like to talk to you about." Noah turned his head toward his voice. Adrian spoke gently. "What happened this morning wasn't your fault. But it showed me how much fear you've been carrying." He paused before continuing. "If we don't help you through that fear, it will keep hurting you. It will make every ordinary moment feel dangerous. It doesn't have to stay that way." Noah lowered his head. "I don't know how to stop being afraid." "You don't have to do it alone," Adrian replied. "I've arranged for you to meet a therapist." Seeing Noah tense again, Adrian immediately added, "I'll be with you the entire time. No one will force you to say anything you don't want to say. You only have to trust the process. We'll take it one step at a time." Noah hesitated for several moments. Finally, he gave a small nod. "I'll try." Adrian smiled warmly. "That's all I'm asking." The following afternoon, Adrian first accompanied Noah to his ophthalmology appointment. The doctors examined his eyes carefully and were pleased with his recovery after the first stage of treatment. Once the examination was complete, Adrian drove Noah to a quiet counseling clinic. Waiting for them was Lisa Morgan, a gentle beta therapist who specialized in helping survivors of long-term abuse and trauma. She welcomed Noah with a calm smile. "There are no right or wrong answers here," she said softly. "We'll simply talk." For the first part of the session, Adrian remained beside Noah exactly as he had promised. After nearly 30 minutes, Lisa looked toward Adrian. "Young Master Ashford, I'd like to spend a little time speaking with Noah alone." Adrian immediately shook his head. "I promised him I wouldn't leave." "I understand," Lisa replied kindly. "But sometimes people find certain feelings easier to express privately." Adrian looked toward Noah. "You don't have to if you don't want to." To his surprise, Noah quietly spoke. "It's okay. I'll try." Although reluctant, Adrian respected Noah's choice and stepped outside the room. Inside, silence lingered for several moments. Lisa didn't rush him. She simply waited. Eventually, Noah spoke. "I'm scared all the time." His voice trembled. "I keep thinking that he'll leave me too." Tears slowly rolled down his cheeks. "I don't want to think that. But I can't stop. Sometimes it feels like none of this is real. Like I'll wake up and everything will disappear." He wiped his face with shaking hands. "And sometimes I think everyone is being kind because something terrible is going to happen later. I keep waiting for it. I don't know why." Lisa handed him a tissue. "What you've been through taught your mind to expect danger, even when you're safe." She spoke gently, never interrupting his tears. "That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've survived a great deal." For the remainder of the session, Noah spoke more than he had in days. Not because his fear disappeared, but because, for the first time, someone helped him put it into words. After Noah left the room with one of the clinic assistants to have some water, Lisa invited Adrian back inside. She folded Noah's file before looking at him seriously. "His panic attacks are deeply connected to years of abuse. You already know that." Adrian nodded silently. "But there's something else." She leaned forward. "The sudden changes in his life have frightened him almost as much." Adrian frowned. Lisa continued. "At home, Noah suffered terribly. But despite everything, he understood that world. He knew who would shout. He knew who would hurt him. He knew where everything was. He understood the rules of that environment." She paused. "Then, in a single evening, everything disappeared. He lost the only familiar place he'd ever known. He was surrounded by strangers. He entered an enormous estate. He became engaged to one of the most powerful men in the country. And all of it happened before he had time to process any of it." Adrian slowly lowered his eyes. Lisa's voice softened. "Imagine waking up one morning and discovering your entire world has changed. No matter how much kinder this new life may be, it still feels terrifying because it's unfamiliar. He doesn't know what tomorrow looks like anymore. So he feels helpless." After a long silence, she met Adrian's gaze. "If you truly want Noah to heal, your presence will matter more than your promises. You can't simply tell him to trust you. You have to give him reasons to feel safe. Again. And again. Until one day, trust grows naturally inside him. He doesn't need grand gestures. He needs consistency. He needs patience. He needs someone who stays." The room fell silent. Adrian reflected on every word she had spoken. For the first time since meeting Noah, he realized something important. Protecting Noah wasn't enough. Healing him would require something far more difficult. Not power. Not wealth. But unwavering patience. And Adrian silently vowed that no matter how long it took, he would be there. That evening, after returning from the hospital, Adrian walked straight toward his father's study. Robert Ashford looked up from the documents scattered across his desk. The appointment went well? Adrian nodded before taking a seat opposite him. It did. But I've made another decision. Robert closed the file in front of him. I'm listening. For the next 2 weeks, Adrian said calmly, I'm stepping away from business. No meetings. No overseas trips. No board discussions. The company can manage without me. But Noah needs me. A knowing smile spread across Robert's face. I was beginning to wonder when you would finally say that. He chuckled softly. The Ashford Group has thousands of executives. But Noah only has one future husband. You've made the correct decision. Adrian smiled faintly. I don't intend to leave his side until the wedding. From that day onward, Adrian became Noah's constant companion. He accompanied him to every doctor's appointment. They had breakfast together every morning. If Noah became lost inside the enormous estate, Adrian was always the first person to guide him. Even the servants began smiling whenever they saw the two together. One afternoon, Noah refused to finish his lunch. I'm not hungry. You've said that since breakfast. I'll eat later. Adrian folded his arms. No, you won't. Taking the bowl from the table, he sat beside Noah. Open your mouth. Noah laughed softly. You're treating me like a child. Only because you're behaving like one. Rolling his eyes dramatically, Noah finally accepted the first spoonful. By the end of the meal, the bowl was empty. The nearby housekeepers exchanged amused smiles. No one had ever imagined the feared Ashford heir patiently feeding someone lunch. Yet Adrian looked as though there were nowhere else he'd rather be. That evening, Adrian walked Noah back to his room. The estate had grown quiet. Only the distant sound of fountains echoed through the gardens. Adrian helped Noah sit comfortably on the edge of the bed before sitting beside him. For a while, neither of them spoke. Finally, Adrian broke the silence. Can I ask you something? Noah nodded. Do you think 5 days is too soon? Noah remained thoughtful for several moments. It isn't the marriage. It's, he sighed softly, the ceremony. I've never liked standing in front of large crowds. The thought of thousands of people watching us. He smiled awkwardly. I'd rather disappear. Adrian understood immediately. He reached over and intertwined their fingers. Then we'll change it. Noah blinked. What? I don't need thousands of witnesses. I only need you. The following morning, Adrian gathered the Ashford family. I've decided the wedding will remain on schedule. But it won't be a public ceremony. Several relatives exchanged surprised glances. Robert Ashford raised an eyebrow. The entire country has been waiting for your wedding. I know. And they'll still have one. Adrian smiled. Just not yet. He continued. We'll have a private ceremony with only our closest family. As for the grand celebration. His eyes softened. We'll hold it later. When Noah can walk beside me without feeling overwhelmed. When he can enjoy every moment instead of enduring it. Robert studied his son before slowly smiling. I suppose that's exactly what love looks like. When Noah heard the announcement later that afternoon, he was genuinely surprised. You changed the entire wedding, because of me? Adrian looked at him as though the answer were obvious. Of course. You didn't have to. I know. I wanted to. He stepped closer. I don't want our wedding day to become something you simply survive. I want it to become the happiest memory of your life. He smiled warmly. So we'll celebrate twice. One quiet ceremony for us. And one grand celebration when you're ready to enjoy every second of it. Noah laughed. You've planned everything already. I have. And I don't regret a single decision. A comfortable silence settled between them. Outside, wedding preparations continued throughout the estate. Inside, neither of them cared about decorations or celebrations. At that moment, simply standing together felt more important than any grand ceremony ever could. 5 days later, on a quiet winter morning in early February, Adrian Ashford and Noah Carter stood before the people who mattered most. The ceremony was held in the private gardens of the Ashford estate. There were no reporters waiting beyond the gates. No politicians. No influential business families hoping to witness the wedding of the country's most powerful heir. Only their closest family members and a handful of trusted friends were present. For Noah, it was enough. His father gently took his hand. Ready? He asked softly. Noah drew a slow breath before giving a small nod. I'm ready. Together, they walked down the flower-lined aisle. Unlike the charity gala that had changed his life forever, today there were no thousands of unfamiliar eyes watching him. No whispers. No overwhelming crowd. Only warmth. Only acceptance. For the first time in a long while, Noah didn't feel trapped. He felt calm. At the end of the aisle, Adrian waited in an elegant black suit, unable to hide the smile on his face. When Noah reached him, his father placed Noah's hand into Adrian's. "Take care of him," he said quietly. Adrian tightened his hold ever so slightly. "With my life." The ceremony was simple yet heartfelt. They exchanged vows before their loved ones, promising not only love but patience, honesty, and unwavering support through every season of life. When they were finally pronounced husband and husband, gentle applause filled the garden. No extravagant celebration could have made the moment more meaningful. Because for both of them, this was exactly the wedding they wanted. As evening settled over the coastline, Adrian drove Noah away from the estate. Nearly an hour later, the car came to a stop before a beautiful mansion overlooking a quiet beach. The rhythmic sound of waves greeted them as they stepped outside. "My grandparents built this place," Adrian said with a smile. "I wanted our first night as husbands to begin somewhere peaceful." The mansion was warm and softly lit, with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the moonlit sea. After dinner, they spent hours talking on the terrace, listening to the waves and laughing over small stories from their childhoods. The nervousness Noah had carried throughout the day slowly faded. Later that night, Adrian gently took Noah's hands in his own. "You're my husband now," he said softly, his forehead resting against Noah's. "But more importantly, you're the person I want to spend every tomorrow with." Noah smiled, his cheeks warming. "And I'm glad it's you." Adrian leaned forward and kissed him tenderly. This time, Noah returned the kiss without hesitation. The rest of the night belonged only to them. Beyond the windows, the waves rolled endlessly onto the shore while the winter moon watched over the quiet mansion. When morning arrived, they greeted the sunrise wrapped in each other's arms, no longer two strangers brought together by fate, but two husbands beginning the first chapter of a life they would build side by side.